And hello to everybody watching on Twitch as well. We've still got a couple more sessions coming up later today, Titan Souls and LA Cops. But next up, introducing you to his game, The Swindle from Size 5 Games, please welcome Dan Marshall.
Hi, hello. Thank you very much for coming. I wasn't really expecting loads of people to turn up. That's really nice to see. I don't understand why you don't all have jobs to go to at 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. But thank you anyway. I think I like making games in genres that kind of piss me off. And the latest one is The Swindle, which is technically a stealth game, but kind of not, because I've realized I don't really like them very much. As an indie developer, I've kind of always enjoyed making games that other people aren't quite doing right in a way that I enjoy. I think that's one of the great things about indie developers, is that we have this ability to sort of just do stuff that you want to play, that some other people aren't fulfilling that sort of need in you, and you can sort of make stuff on your own. So if you don't know who I am, I did a game called Ben There, Dan That, and Time Gentlemen Please, which were these kind of small, rude point-and-click adventure games. And they were kind of a response to, at the time, which were sort of scaled-back adventures. LucasArts obviously did the best adventure games that have ever existed, and everything sort of since then sort of got diluted down to this one-click does everything sort of mess that I really didn't enjoy. So I made Ben There, Dan That, and Time Gentlemen Police as a direct result of no one's making adventure games like I used to love as a kid. Let's do those. I did a game called Gun Monkeys, which was a one-on-one deathmatch multiplayer sort of thing. And that was a direct result of no one really making the games that I remembered as a kid, which was sort of based around, you know, when you've got like two people sort of huddled over a monitor and both sort of sharing a keyboard, that kind of thing. So that was the result of that. And so then, now there's The Swindle. And I love the idea of stealth games. I think the idea behind stealth games is really interesting and really exciting. But I found myself constantly getting really annoyed by the tropes and the execution inherent in them. So, as I said, I think that the indie developers are getting the most out of their jobs are doing stuff like this, where they're making things that they want to play. And when other games aren't doing what you want, that gives you a lot of fluidity to sort of tinker about and sort of have a mess around in genres. And it's the bit of my job that I find the most exciting. It's kind of like every day is a little puzzle game that I get to work on my own, where I sort of take stuff I don't like and make something I kind of do. It's sort of, every day is, okay, how do I make this shit enjoyable? Which is why, shit, I should make a football manager game or something. So in case you've wandered in here wondering who I am, that's my Twitter thing, which you might have seen. And that's a game I made ages ago, which was stupid. Okay, so this is The Swindle, which is the latest thing I've been working on, which is a steampunk cybercrime caper, which doesn't really mean very much. But it's a steampunk game which has kind of cyberpunk sensibilities in it. So everything's steam-driven, everything's sort of Victorian, it's London 1849. But it's got this sort of cyberpunk kind of vibe to it, so everything's kind of 80s and neon. And it deals with themes about AI and hacking and singularities and all that kind of thing. And the cool thing about it is it's a procedurally generated burglary simulator. So the idea is you start in a level, and we randomly generate you a great big building to break into however you like, sort of smash the place up, hack all their computers, steal all their cash, and get out again before the cops turn up. And so that's kind of the main crux of it. And there is actually... Oh, hang on. There we go. Okay, fine. So the game originally was announced in 2010, which was a long time ago now. And I cancelled it, because a lot of the stuff that I was doing didn't really work. It was a fun game that didn't quite gel in a really nice way. So It had set levels that you would break into, hand-designed levels, bespoke levels, kind of like most stealth games. Everything was sort of hand-built, and then the idea was that this AI director would work out the ways you were breaking into the building and add extra security to those areas. So if you broke in through the front door, they would sort of stick more guards on patrol around the front door. If you broke in through the skylight, they would stick in cameras and security and all that sort of stuff, which sounds like a great idea on paper, but just didn't work. The other thing was that we had all this AI in the game. We had human guards, and it was just massively expensive and massively overcomplicated to have guards that followed you through the level, and you'd jump over a gap and you'd go through a door and up some stairs and around the corner, and the AI would get kind of lost, and you'd think, that's a bit shit, I'm not that difficult to spot, why isn't he following me? So like, it had all these bits in it that just sort of kind of didn't work. So anyway, I wound up remaking it at the start of last year, and it's gone really well. It's really turned out to be something quite special, I think. I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes or so, not 20 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so, sort of slagging off stealth games. I should point out, I do actually like stealth games quite a lot. I'm just not happy with some of the stuff that they kind of do. And I found myself deliberately playing these games, and from a design point of view, found myself going, oh, I'm not doing that. I'm finding this really annoying. But anyway, that's my caveat, in case anyone thinks I really do hate everything. I just thought it would be worth pointing out which stuff I've specifically avoided in order to make this game fun. So I've done some video footage of me playing through. I'm not very good at my own game. Turns out it's quite hard. I think the best thing to do is just have a look at that. Calvin, can you... we had a bit of a tech problem. Calvin, can you hear me? There we go. Should point out, I deliberately set the alarms off then. I did that on purpose because I wanted to make it clear that that was possible. Yeah, I did deliberately set those alarms off. I'm not just shit at my own game. So that was just like a fairly simple run through of the game. That was like from quite early on in the game. It was just me sort of showing kind of how it works. So it's basically a stealth game where it's in your interest to kind of not get spotted. But if you do, it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to sort of talk through, like, I think there's like 5 things about things that stealth games do that piss me off. That there we go. That I've kind of tried to avoid in the Swindle. So the idea is that stealth games are these kind of bespoke, weird, handcrafted experiences. And what you're doing is you're playing through a level that someone has handcrafted, hand-designed. So they say to you, OK, here's a building. You can get into it whichever way you want. And what actually happens is that you can go in through the building in one of 4 ways. You can go in through the front door or the skylights, or you can go in through the sewers. And that's about it. And the disadvantage of that is you always sort of feel like you're missing out on content. I don't know about you, but if I play Deus Ex, what I do is I go in through the skylight stealthily and down through the vents, and I take out all the guards and I do the thing that I need to do. And I feel I've missed out on the front door section, so I go out through the front door and make it hard for myself and go out that way. And then it gets to the end of the level and I go, well, I haven't seen the sewers yet. So you go back in through the sewers, even though there's no need to whatsoever, and then up and around. And once you've cleared everyone out of the level, you're done. And that was kind of a thing I wanted to avoid. You've got this weird self-clean, guaranteed way to get through the level. And I just kind of find it really weird and unrealistic. And I kind of find it kind of like you've got this, it's like an illusion of choice rather than like an actual choice. So what we do in the Swindle is that every building is completely unique. So the buildings are completely procedurally generated. If you want to, you can pretend that every atom is procedurally generated. They're not. That would be lies. No one would say that. But you can't. But I haven't hand designed anything. And so what you've got essentially is a sandbox. You've got a sandbox of a randomly generated building and a load of tools that you've bought. And I have no idea what you've got because you can buy whatever you like. You can focus on hacking as a skill. You can focus on bombs and blowing things up as a skill if that's your choice. And the mechanics kind of come out of it naturally. So what I've crafted is a fully destructible world. You can go in genuinely whichever way you like. You can go across the roof and bomb your way through, or you can go in through the ground floor, through the sewers. You can go in through the skylights. You can walk in through the front door if you like. So I've crafted baddies and AI and stuff like that that takes advantage of that world. And what I haven't done is set you up with a load of predefined routes, a load of AI taking specific paths where you have to spot the gap and what they're doing. And because it's procedurally generated, the environments and the stealth mechanics that we've got are geared towards improvisation. It's about letting you be 100% in charge of the flow of the game. So you can do things in this that I don't think you really find yourself doing in stealth games, having to sort of improvise, work on the fly, I guess. And so what it actually generates is these tiny little puzzle boxes. So the game generates a room, and it sticks something in there that you want. It sticks some loot in there. And then we stick in random set of baddies, and it sticks a camera in there. And you've decided to focus on, I don't know, explosives as your stealthy way of breaking into buildings, because you're rubbish at that sort of thing. And so I've got I kind of called it once, I called it a designerless experience, which is stupid because it makes it sound like I haven't done anything. But actually, I haven't done anything. All I've done is set up an environment that you can play with whatever tools you like. So you basically walk into a room. This game could generate a room that is too difficult for you with what you've played. And you could just walk up to the room and you see what's in there and you go, fuck it, I can't do that. That's too hard for me, that's too difficult, and walk away. And I kind of think that's what a real burglary would be like. That sometimes people must surely break into buildings and go, I can't do this, I haven't got the right set of keys, or I don't know how burglaries work. They don't use keys, do they? That would be stupid. If they had keys, it wouldn't be a burglary. But whatever. That sort of stuff is so much more interesting to me as a designer, is the idea that you can, that I can't predict what's going to happen. And I think it makes it much more interesting from the player's point of view as well, because you're doing stuff and thinking, hopefully thinking, I shouldn't risk this. This this is too much of a gamble. And that's something I think doesn't really happen in stealth games. I'm running out of time already. I'm on section 1. Second thing is visibility, which the old Swindle, before I cancelled it, had this really weird system where you had visibility, and sometimes it was dawn, and you were sort of standing half underneath a light, and the guards were sleepy. I don't know. And you were sort of standing there thinking, I don't really know if that guy can see me, because I've got some sort of weird meter that's filling up, and I don't know, it doesn't really work. And this is something that happens in AAA games. You get 3D vision cones, which are kind of vague where they end. I don't know if you played Shadow of Mordor. And sometimes you'd be running past a group of orcs, or whatever they're called. I don't know what they're called in orcs things. And you'd be running past them, and there'd be a group of them, and they just wouldn't see you. They just wouldn't pay any attention to you whatsoever. You'd be sort of 15 foot from them. They wouldn't care. And then some guy over there goes, hey, look, there's that guy we should all be killing. And I had no idea at any point. It's supposed to be technically a stealth game, but I sort of didn't feel like I had any control over the stealth. And, similarly, Assassin's Creed, those fucking tailing missions, where you sort of have to kind of be near a guy, I guess, but not near a guy. And it doesn't really tell you how close to the man you're allowed to be. Similarly, there's a suspicion meter in Far Cry 4, which I find really weird as a design choice. And if you play it, if you're being stealthy and you're breaking into a place, it'll fill up a little bar on your HUD as to some guy over there that's filling up. And design-wise, I find that kind of weird, because I haven't even seen that guy. I didn't know he was there. And the game's telling me that there's a guy over there who's aware of you. And what am I reacting to there? I'm not reacting to, realistically, I'm not reacting to something in the game world that I've taken an interest in and I'm, playing the game. I'm reacting to a little red meter on my HUD. And I find that sort of upsetting in a way. This isn't stealth to me. This is sort of walking to a location and pressing X as gameplay. That sort of doesn't appeal to me. So the new Swindle has this other system. It has a very, if you saw it when we played just then, it has a very simple system of visibility. The guards all have vision cones. If you go into the vision cone, you can be seen. And at all other times, you cannot be seen. And when I first started making this version, that was when it clicked. That was when the game sort of suddenly made sense, that that's so much easier than all this other stuff with sliding meters and variables that go, bars that fill up and all that sort of thing. The result of being seen in the new Swindle is that the alarms go off. The amount of money in the building starts to drain. So I guess there's all these computers around the building that you have to hack. That's how you get big payouts. So the amount of money in the building starts to drain slowly over time. And the game kind of flips on a dime, and it goes from being this stealthy experience to being a much more action-focused experience. I'll talk a bit about that in a second. There's no return to safe state as well, which is something I find really weird in games, where you sort of upset a load of people and shoot a load of people and make a load of noise, and there are bodies lying all around you, and some people in another room just go, it's not my problem. Doesn't do me that. Oh. And I find that kind of weird. I find that just massively immersion breaking. And so one of the things we did with this was you never go back. You can't turn the alarms off. You can't ever go back. Just, I don't know, like a real burglary, I guess. Which presumably, again, I haven't done a burglary. I don't know. I'm guessing that's how burglaries work. If anyone asks, I haven't done a burglary. So there's no fail state in the Swindle, which is kind of a lie. That is a lie. Because you can fail. Once you get spotted, as I said, all the alarms go off and all the money starts to drain, and you have sort of fucked up at that point a little bit. But as we all know, the absolute worst thing a stealth game can do is to send you back to where you started. So I love Batman. I really love Batman. But there are stealth bits in the Batman where you come out of a vent and you take out a guy, and then you go up the stairs and you take out another guy, and then you take out another guy, and then you get spotted, and it sends you back to the vent. And you get out of the vent, you take out that first guy. It's that first guy that I find really upsetting, because he's always easy to do. And by the time you actually complete it, I'm not very good at games, so by the time you actually complete it, I've killed him like 3 dozen times. I find that kind of upsetting. Far Cry 4, I've been playing Far Cry 4 recently, and I kept on failing this stealth thing where I had to save some hostages. And every time I failed to save some hostages, it sent me back to the bottom of a mountain that I had to climb. And shit, who thought that was a good idea? Well, just start me off right where I start if you have to start me off again. But what's much better is to keep going, because that's kind of how real stuff works, is you don't go back in time. Again, I did love Alien Isolation. But it raised an important point for me in stealth games, which is that there was this incredible tension opening doors and hacking stuff and doing things. I think they did a really good job if you played it, if you have to open a door that has a lever like that, you have to actually press the button. It kind of feels like you're doing that and pressing buttons and doing things. But you wind up going through the game in this really weird way where you go through 4 different doors and then the alien kills you. And you go through 4 different doors the same way, and then the alien kills you, you go back in time. You go through 4 different doors the same way, and then the alien kills you. And it gets to the point where you're thinking, I really don't want to die, but the main reason I don't want to die is because I can't be bothered to do those 4 fucking doors again. To me, I'm thinking, why? That's not what I should be scared of. I should be scared of the alien catching me, not having to press a button again. So how the Swindle handles it, I've worked hard to remove the feeling of failure. You still get that kind of bollocks when you set off the alarms and it's upsetting because you have messed up. But it basically removes all stealth elements and basically turns into this sort of against-the-clock action game where you are up against the time limit before the money runs out and before the police turn up. And when the police turn up, that's kind of your cue to leave because they're kind of tough as bollocks and you don't want to do it. The other thing is that there's no reloading in any way, so you never see the same house again. If you do it again, you generate a whole new house for yourself. And the way that we keep tension up is that the idea is that behind the game is that you have 100 days. So when you first start, the idea is that Scotland Yard are going to turn on this all-seeing AI, which is like this kind of shit steampunk skull, because that makes sense to me. And they say, we're going to turn this thing on in 100 days and it's going to have complete surveillance over the whole of London. And as a burglar, that's going to kind of ruin your job. So the idea is you're going to steal it before they can turn it on. So every time you set off the alarms, that's going to be 1 day off your 100 days. And so that's how we keep that feeling of tension. You don't ever go back in time. You can never mess up in that way, but you lose a day. And it's a game about stealing cash. And actually, the way it plays, days are your most valuable currency. So that's what we've done there. Noise, as science tells us, is invisible. It's impossible to see. And the vagaries of AI hearing you is annoying. There's nothing worse than sort of, creeping past a doorway and for some reason some AI guard over there hears you. So what we do in the Swindle is that there's no fail state for being heard. All the enemies have these special features on them. Some enemies have a microphone that have special features, so they will launch drones to come and sort of seek out the area, which are kind of dangerous, or they'll turn to face you, or they'll do certain things. They'll explode certain things, but being heard by a baddie won't cause you any problems in terms of the stealth side of things. Noise is clearly marked, so you can buy an upgrade for your goggles that shows you exactly how much noise you're making. And the key thing about noise is, and I find this with all stealth games, is that noise just isn't much fun as visibility. Visibility is one of those things that makes sense and is sort of fun to play against. Not being seen is kind of cool. Not being heard is just really annoying, especially in a game where you don't really have any idea how much noise you're making because you're not really there. So the number of baddies we have that can hear are basically there's not that many of them, and they're very clearly marked, so you can sort of feel your way around it. How am I doing? Is that the time? Okay, good. So tools. Stealth games chuck they sort of chuck all kind of kit at you. You get sort of noisemakers and sticky cams and smoke bombs. And I don't know about you, but I never ever use them. I was playing Alien Isolation, and I found the noise stuff just too unpredictable. You'd sling a noisemaker over there, and the alien would go, "Was that you, chuck that?" And I'd just immediately die. So I played all of Alien Isolation on hard mode without using any tool. I played it on hard mode because it's stupid, because I wanted that sort of feeling of being scared of the alien, and I didn't use any tools. I didn't use anything to help me in my way whatsoever. I just sort of moved really slowly. So how the Swindle handles it in terms of this sort of stuff, that every tool you can buy has been custom built to deal with the sort of problems you're going to find because of the random level generator. So while I'm playtesting it, and I playtest it a lot, I basically sit there thinking, what would be really helpful to use here? What specific tool can I offer people that if they find themselves in this situation, it's really helpful? So sometimes I'd be running from the cops, and it's kind of slow. If you find yourself up against a wall, it's kind of slow to rig a bomb and wait for the bomb to explode and get you through that wall. So you can buy teleporters which take you straight through a wall, which is kind of cool because the cops just sort of run after you and get confused about where you've gone to all of a sudden. And if there were times where you're standing directly above an enemy and there's no way of sort of getting down there nicely to hit him. So we've got this EMP blast that you can sort of set off that kills off baddies in your local area. And all that stuff means is you can basically start to specialize. So there are two ways through a locked door. You can either hack it or you can blow the shit out of it. And both are equally valid tactics. As you'll see, there's a clip a little bit later on. Everything explodes in the Swindle at some point. For a stealth game, a lot of stuff explodes. So I've basically given you a load of stuff to play around with, and it's your choice, sort of really what you fancy. And again, that's all stuff that ties into what I was saying before about this sort of designerless experience, that I have no idea what you're going to buy. Designing this game is basically a nightmare because it's a randomly generated level. You might buy the useless tools for all I know. There's no useless tools. You might buy the least useful tools for all I know. But that's burglary, right? There's got to be idiot burglars out there who are buying the worst stuff, keys or whatever, I don't know. So the economy for buying tools is basically nabbed from Assassin's Creed 2. I don't know if you played Assassin's Creed 2. It was glorious. It had the most amazing economy in it, where I haven't stolen this bit specifically, but every 20 minutes in Assassin's Creed you got given some cash. And I love having a fake bank account in video games, and just watching it go up and up and up. It's just one of those things that I just find so exciting. And there's great bits in Assassin's Creed 2 where you finally can afford, I don't know, like a nice tunic or a trendy sword or something. And you buy it and you feel so happy with yourself, and then it goes, "Have you seen these new swords we've got? They're amazing, you'll like these." And you go, "I just spent all my money on this sword, but that sword does look really cool." So it's about having this sort of like, I don't know, genuine economy where you're saving up for something and you're really excited about it. I'm going to have to be really quick now. So the good thing about stealth is that you think it's about being a coward and hiding in the darkness, but actually it's about feeling powerful over idiots who don't know you're there. Baddies in stealth games can kind of ruin it, because when they require different tactics or different thinking, that's really cool, but when they ruin your feeling of power, that's really bad. And if you play Batman, there's some baddies in Batman that can see you on the, you can go up to sit on the gargoyles at the top of the level, and that can see you, and they ruined it for me, because I like the feeling of being safe up there, and being able to hurt whoever I liked. So it's about designing enemies that fit into the level and are interesting. So one of the things that, when I first thought about doing this talk, one of the things I desperately wanted to talk about was the idea of stealth games. I don't know about you. Next time you're playing a stealth game, you'll realize you're doing this. The worst thing in stealth games is crouching behind a baddie who's walking away from you and sort of slowly moving towards them, hammering the button, waiting for the takedown prompt to come up. And that's just one of those things that I've just decided I can't face doing that anymore. It's not an experience. I'm playing the systems of the game rather than actually playing the game. And then he turns around on a whim and spots you, and you have to go back in time. It's rubbish. Also, hiding bodies, no hiding bodies in this, never hiding bodies ever again. Hiding bodies is useless. The idea of picking up a body and slowly moving to another location, I'm not interested in that. That's really boring. So, as I said, the old Swindle guards, kind of on an indie budget, didn't work because they required too much AI. And actually, I played the Spelunky, and Spelunky taught me that dumb baddies are so much more interesting to play against because they are predictable. And you know exactly where they're going to go. You think you want smart baddies in games, but you don't, because smart baddies in games will beat the shit out of you. Oh, sorry. That's my fault. There we go. There we are. All right. I'm running out of time, aren't I? Am I running out of time? I really am running out of time. Okay. I've got one more clip, which I might as well just skip on to the last clip. If Calvin's listening, which is a clip from this is with some of the new enemies in it from sort of from the second level, I think. And again, I did deliberately set the alarms off, just to sort of show you how it flips from that kind of feeling of stealthy to being a bit more of an action game. Got me at the end before I could get away. But there you go. So that's kind of that's the Swindle. I think I've run out of time. Sorry, I waffled on way too long. There you go. Thank you very much for coming. I do really appreciate it. If I've still got some limited edition Swindle T-shirts that we got from America. If anyone wants to ask me questions, come and say hello. I'm more than happy to have a chat. Right. Done?
Thanks very much, Dan Marshall. At the top of the hour, we've got Titan Souls coming up. If you could leave by the exits to the rear, thank you very much for coming.